Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mighty Blues. Cal with you for the match preview in Cam's absence. Cam is otherwise engaged this evening, so I've jumped on in his absence to do a quick match preview for this weekend's fixture against Aston Villa, which I'm sure everyone is sick of hearing that it is the most played fixture in English football, but there we go. We're coming into it in, dare I say, all right form. Take away the Merseyside derby, 2 successive home wins, which is not something we come by all too often. So, yeah, Aston Villa this weekend, a real test. You know, they've got a lot of dangerous players up front, perhaps some fragilities at the back. But, of course, one of Everton's biggest issues at the moment is scoring goals. So it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. Now, we're coming into this game on the back of that 1-0 win against Leeds, which was just huge. There's no other way of putting it. It was absolutely massive. It was of great importance. We knew what was at stake. All the other teams around us getting results, and, you know, Leeds, a fellow relegation rival. It was imperative, wasn't it, that we picked up the 3 points, and we managed to do that, albeit by the 1 goal from Seamus Coleman, and what a goal it was, by the way, to secure all 3 points and to lift us out of the bottom 3 for the first time in what seems like forever. But now our next challenge has presented itself, and of course that is Aston Villa, a side who we are very familiar with, and a side, let's be honest, we don't have the best record against since their return to the Premier League. You know, we have a really, really poor record since they got promoted. I think they got promoted back in 2000, was it 2016, 17? I'm not sure, someone probably correct me on that one, but yeah, Aston Villa haven't really had many problems when they've faced us since their return. You know, earlier on the season, we were defeated at Villa Park. I think it was 2-1 in a game that we probably didn't deserve to lose, in all honesty. The game which saw Amadou Onana's debut for Everton, if I remember rightly. But Aston Villa will be coming into this game in not the best of form themselves, that has to be said. Not the best of form themselves. Obviously, they were on the end of a 4-2 defeat to the league leaders Arsenal in the early kickoff last weekend. So they will obviously be coming to Goodison Park, trying to right the wrong of that. But yeah, as I go back to that point I made before, they've got some fantastic players, haven't they? Especially in that forward area. You know, Ollie Watkins, who seems to be hitting a bit of a purple patch at the moment. Felipe Coutinho, who we're all very familiar with during his time on Merseyside, well, the other half at least anyway, on his day can still be a really, really dangerous player. Can really hurt Everton. And, you know, we saw that in his goal against Arsenal last weekend. He can still pose a real threat. And, you know, you've got Emi Buendia in there as well. You know, they've got players like Leon Bailey, Douglas Luiz, you know, players who, you know, really, really solid Premier League footballers. And we've just got to ensure that we're on our A game to deal with it. And I'm sure Sean Dyche will set us up in the best way possible to deal with the threat of Aston Villa. One thing I really like about Sean Dyche, and I think it's got to be said, you know, for what it's worth, I love the way he approaches, you know, just his personality and his style. The way there's no brash statements, there's no big, you know, quotes coming out of press conferences. He just seems really pragmatic, really down to earth. He just deals with what's in front of him. He plays the way he's facing and all that. And so far, that seems to have worked. Merseyside derby aside, yes, we are very early into Sean Dyche's tenure. Yeah, we know this, but we're just taking one game at a time, which is really reassuring to see, isn't it? Really, you know, when he first came in, Arsenal, that was the focus, and we managed to get the results. The derby's the derby. You know, we don't talk about the derby. We could be, you know, unbeaten all season, and they could be bottom of the league. They could be in administration on minus however many points, and they would still find a way of beating us. But that's besides the point. We managed to find a way to beat a Leeds United side who, you know, were really just as desperate for points as we were. We managed to come out the other end, and hopefully that Sean Dyche sets up in a similar sort of way to grind out some kind of result against Aston Villa. Whether that's a case of sitting in, hitting them on the counter, I don't know. Whether that'll be making the most of our set pieces, probably, because it's still a very big issue in this Everton side that we just don't seem to be scoring enough goals at the moment. We saw it in the Leeds game. Well, I definitely thought during that game anyway, up until the goal went in, I was worried because I just didn't know where these goals were going to come from and what was going to win us the game, because there was no one, you know, we didn't play badly against Leeds by any means, but there was no one who really had that cutting edge you felt up until the goal. You know, no one who could just put the ball in the back of the net, you know, create something out of nothing. But that's been a theme all season, hasn't it? That's something that we're not too unfamiliar with. Bit of team news, obviously Dominic Calvert-Lewin looks like he's going to miss out this one as well. We don't know when he's going to be back, so therefore our hopes for any kind of goals scored will be on Ellis Sims or Neil Maupay again. Ellis Sims did very well when he came on against Leeds, I thought, and that may just warrant him a start at Goodison, his first Goodison Park start. So that would be good if we can make the most of that. Because as I say, he put himself about against Leeds when he came on. I thought, that ball he put across for Decore, which, you've got to be scoring them. We all know that. But, I think he can take confidence from his cameo against Leeds. And, the fans will be right up for it. The fans will be behind him. And hopefully he can use that to his advantage and really start to kick on between now and the end of the season for Everton, because albeit it's very early and he's very much still in the infancy of his Everton career, but I think there is a player in there, albeit a very raw player, but I do think there is potential there for someone who can be, I don't want to say, a world beater, but definitely someone who can be effective, I think is the right way of putting it. Amadou Onana, Sean Dyche has confirmed that it looks like he is fit for this game, which will be a massive boost for us, who seems to be the standout player for Everton since we've came back from the World Cup. In all honesty, he's really started to find his feet, hasn't he? And a really integral part of this side. He's really been playing well in that midfield three alongside Idrissa Gana Gueye and Abdoulaye Doucouré. So you wouldn't really expect much change there. However, it looks like James Garner may make his long-awaited return. He's been out for ages, hasn't he? He's been out since before the World Cup, I think. But, he could return to the matchday squad, and it'll be nice to see James Garner back. It'll just be nice to have some bodies back, you know what I mean? Just have a bit of depth. And, we haven't really seen a lot of James Garner, have we, this season? And, I think there's a lot more to come. I think for his ability, we've very much just scraped the surface of what he can do. Set pieces have been a massive part of what Sean Dyche has managed to achieve in these first three games at Everton. Tarkowski, the difference against Arsenal. He hit the post in the derby, looking very dangerous against Leeds as well. So set pieces look like a really big part of how we are going to hurt teams. And, to bring James Garner into that conversation, he was renowned for his set piece ability. So, whether that's goal kicks, whether that's free kicks or corners, he could, we bring him on towards the end, if we're searching for that goal to make the difference, then maybe he can be someone who we can look to, swing one in for Taki to get his head on or something like that. So, it's exciting having James Garner back. It'd be great to get him back into the fold. Go back to that point I made. We haven't seen that much of him, really. So, yeah, a welcome return. Will he go into the starting 11? Very much doubt it. I think it'll take a lot to push those three out of the midfield at the moment. Of course, Abdoulaye Doucouré, he's been very impressive since this almost rebirth under Sean Dyche, if you like, coming into the fold out of the cold. So yeah, look forward to seeing those three continue in midfield and, make the most of this form they're in at the moment. But yeah, the forward line is the area where you do wonder what will happen there. It's whether it's going to be Neil Maupay again, whether he goes unchanged from Leeds, remains to be seen. I don't know. He was quite ineffective, wasn't he, Neil Maupay? Let's be honest. But Ellis Sims, perhaps this could be the time. It's a big game, of course. We're not really in a position to be taking big risks, but listen, he started a Merseyside derby at Anfield, hasn't he? So, Sean Dyche, I doubt will have many issues with the starting Ellis Sims against Aston Villa at Goodison Park. And if he does, the fans will be 100% behind him. Of course they will. And hopefully he can maybe get that first goal and really start to build his confidence then in the Everton shirt. Just going into the starting 11, predicted starting 11. I know Cam likes to do them on these previews, so I'll give my go at it. In goal, I think it's no doubt going to be Jordan Pickford on the back of that news today that he's signed a new long-term deal with the Blues until 2027. I'm sure he will be in for a fantastic reception tomorrow afternoon. Back four, I think it's going to be as is, to be honest. I can't really see him changing it much. I can't really see Dyche changing much of this side, really. Seamus Coleman, I think, is going to start with that goal last weekend. Obviously, he's going to be having a lot of confidence at the moment. And, we've played a lot of football recently, Seamus, hasn't he, in Nathan Patterson's absence. Sean Dyche did reveal in the press conference that Patterson probably isn't too far away, but he has picked up a little bit of a knock on his knee. So it's looking like the Aston Villa game may come a little bit too soon for Nathan, but no issues with Seamus Coleman being in the side. We always know we're going to get 110% out of our captain, and at home as well. he seems to be putting in some really impressive performances since Sean Dyche has took charge. So long may that continue. The back two, or the two centre-half pairing, I very much expect that to be unchanged with Connor Cody and James Tarkowski. Tarkowski, as I mentioned earlier, is looking really, really dangerous on set pieces at the moment, and he could have really had goals in every game so far that Sean Dyche has managed. We got the goal against Arsenal. He was really unlucky in the derby, and he was looking a threat from corners against Leeds as well. So he looks like he can be quite a danger man for us in those situations, really. So I very much doubt that'll be changed that much with the two at the back there. Vitaly Mykolenko. Yeah, he splits opinion amongst the fan base. I must admit, I'm not his biggest fan. I'm not gonna come on and change my opinion on that. But I feel like at home, he does a job. He was quite exposed at Anfield, but with the Goodison crowd behind him, I think he can probably put in his better performances. So I do expect Mykolenko to start this game. Midfield three. Yeah, it's hard to really argue against those three at the moment. Abdoulaye Doucouré, Idrissa Gana Gueye, and Amadou Onana seem to be playing probably the best football they have in all the time at Everton. Probably Doucouré, you have to go back to the early Ancelotti days before he was playing as well as he is doing. And Idrissa Gana Gueye started to pick up a bit of a rhythm now, which is good to see as well. His passing, it's still a little bit hit and miss, isn't it? But you're going to get 100% from Idrissa. And he covers a lot of ground, of course. He does, coming up against his former club, who he actually signed in 2016 for about £7 million. I think it's fair to say we've got our return on that. The wide men, Dwight McNeil is probably going to maintain his place in the side. He's started every game so far under Sean Dyche. And to be fair to him, again, he has his critics, but he's looked sharp in his games, specifically in the Arsenal Leeds game. He's looked sharp, and he's looked probably the most effective he's done all season. The thing with Dwight, sometimes you feel like he does all the hard work, and then at the end he just sort of lets himself down. But we've started to see him take on players a little bit more now, especially in that Leeds game. He was starting to really get at defenders, which is something that I think a lot of fans would want to see from wingers in general. But for Dwight McNeil, for him to start picking up a bit of a consistent run in the side, hopefully that can work to his advantage and continue these, I don't want to say these great performances, these amazing performances, of course not, but I think it's fair to say these improved performances. I'll give him that. On the other side, Alex Iwobi obviously set up the goal for Seamus last weekend. I think Alex Iwobi, we know what we're going to get from him now, and we have done for a while. I don't think he's been as good as he was towards the back end of last season. However, if he's going to create chances, chances are really at a premium in this Everton side, aren't they? Not a lot of players create much. And, the numbers don't lie. Alex Iwobi is probably one of our more creative players. So it wouldn't make a lot of sense to take him out the side at this moment in time. So I fully expect Iwobi to start. And then that leaves the Upfront situation, which I think it is probably going to be, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure, because he could literally go either way. But I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say Ellis Sims. I feel like Ellis Sims might get the nod. I really do. I just think that cameo he made was promising. And, for a player who, Aston Villa, who probably have their own fragilities at the back, you think of players like Tyrone Mings, then you want a big lad like Neil Maupay, like Ellis Sims to really, get into him and just, throw himself about a little bit like he did against Leeds and in early patches in the derby. So I can see Ellis Sims starting this game. And if he does, like I said, he'll have the full support of the fans, and hopefully he can really start to get a run of games in this side, and, start to make this whole return from Sunderland start to make a bit of sense, because we all know that we are in dire need of forward areas. Just before we finish, so obviously the widest scale of things, Everton currently sits 16th in the Premier League on 21 points. Obviously the win last weekend took us out of that bottom three, which was the importance of that cannot be understated, but it's all still very tight. We all know it's all still extremely tight at the bottom of the Premier League right now. You've got Leicester on 24 points, and then you've got Southampton rock bottom on 18. Everything can change so easily, and as we've seen in the Premier League this season, no result is a given. Who expected Southampton to go and beat Chelsea last weekend? Who expected Forest to get a point against Man City? But I suppose you've only got to take care of your own performances. And I'm sure that's what Sean Dyche is really going to be drilling into these players, that we've just got to be in charge of what we do. And if you've got a home game on a Saturday at 3:00 against a side like Aston Villa, who could potentially be dragged back into it, then that's an opportunity that we've got to be taking. There's a bit of a feel-good factor around the place at the moment. Obviously, we've got everything going on with the protest, which is maintained, which is fantastic. I think it's really, really encouraging that the support for the side and the protests at the top have really been separated, and both elements of the fan base, both in supporting the team and protesting against the board, are top quality at the moment. So, the fans will 100% be behind the team on Saturday. And a win would be fantastic, wouldn't it? A win would take us on to what? 25 points? Yeah, well, 24 points, yeah. So, yeah, that'll put us level with Leicester in 14th. So, and then going into that Nottingham Forest game, well, obviously we've got Arsenal meeting in the midweek, so that'll be a tricky one. But we start to just give ourselves a bit of a leverage and just a bit of confidence to be able to just not completely pull away from this relegation battle, because it's far from over and we are far, far, far from out the woods, because we all know what one result can do, especially when you look at those new managers coming in for Southampton and Leeds this weekend. Always a bit of a fear of a manager bounce there. So, listen, we can go on about the league table all day and how Everton are going to survive, but we've just essentially got to take care of our own business, and that is Aston Villa, a side that we just haven't got the best of records against. But hopefully we can put an end to that, and Sean Dyche's game management and his pragmatic approach to games can pay dividends, and we can come away with the 3 points, which would be huge, absolutely huge. If we can come away saying 3 out of 4 of Sean Dyche's first games were wins, and you're looking at 9 out of 12 points. We would have took that. He would have already a win tomorrow would equal Frank Lampard's record for wins all season, which is just insane in itself. But listen, all we can do in this situation we're at the moment, we're in a shocking position in terms of relegation. We know this, but the main thing is that we just focus on our own game, our own performance, and we just get the 3 points, and it's all about results. And I'm pretty sure that's what the manager's trying to say as well. We take a 1-0 all day. We take 1-0 between now and the end of the season. Of course we would. So I'm going to go and say my prediction is going to be another tight game. I think it's going to be 1-0 against Everton. I do think it's going to be 1-0. I think defensively we'll defend resolutely, and then a goal will probably come off a set piece, because it's just difficult at the moment to be able to come out and categorically say who's gonna score goals for Everton. But listen, we've got to give it our all and come away with the 3 points. And if we can, then that'll be a huge result for us. And when we just move on to the next one, then, and that's the way that we're going to get out of this. But so far, the early signs are that we're moving in the right direction, and that Sean Dyche's way of managing is going to get us results, hopefully. Still early days, as I say, but we have to remain upbeat, and we have to give the lads our full support. So there we go. We'll leave it there. Thanks for watching. Cam will be back, no doubt, with the reaction. So big thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to the Mighty Blues if you haven't done so already, and leave a like. And as I say, Cam will be back, no doubt. So just been filling in for this one. But thanks for watching, and we'll speak to you next time. Cheers.